Good afternoon. Welcome again to another edition of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. I guess today we're doing International Week. I do have a great student here with me today, Mr. David, and we're going to be talking about his experiences as a college student, maybe in the US since we're talking international. So we'll get information here. Stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please, again, do subscribe. Okay. Hi, David.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Doing well.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So we're going to start a little bit about talking about ourselves and maybe our background a little bit. So where are you from originally?
Well, it's hard for me to answer that because I was actually born in the US here. But when I was born, I didn't stay here for very long. And so I actually moved around quite a bit. So originally I went to Taiwan, then lived in Guatemala for about 7 years, and then finally came back to the US. So around the Pacific region, you know. So yeah. So my parents are from Taiwan and China. So most of the time when people ask, I say Taiwan.
Taiwan, okay. So you are more international than myself. Or maybe let me see if I could challenge you a little bit. So I was born in Germany, but I grew up in Ghana. Right, Ghana, West Africa, that's where I grew up. And do have family in England, but I didn't really live in England. I just visited England, so I have that little connection there. And then to the US. So that's, I'm like, okay, so you are an American, Taiwanese, Guatemalan, okay, I'm a German, African, okay. As international as it gets. So that's good, that's very good. So let's get right into your experience here in the US so far as school goes. So did you start high school here in the US or just college?
Actually, I started as middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I ended my 5th grade in Guatemala, and then went straight into 6th grade. Actually, I started in the middle of the year in 6th grade. So for 6th grade, I think I only had half a semester compared to a regular student. And then from then on, I just went to high school and then work and then college. So not a traditional way, but still,
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. So you actually had opportunity, to go to school here. So you got some fundamental basics in terms of, you were not too surprised, like most international students were like, oh wow, it's the US, where do I start, right? You actually have that fundamental background, so that's good. Let's fast forward to college. Like when you finished high school and you were working and you were going to college, what was your motivation? What did your parents say you have to go to college? Is that?
No, actually, I started work, and then after a couple of years of work, actually more than a couple of years, probably 10 to 15 years of work. And then I decided, I do want to start college. It is not something that my parents pushed. It is mainly my decision right there. I did want to start something new, something that I was interested in. I knew that right after high school, usually some students are not, they don't know what they want to do. Yes. So that's why I started work first and get a little bit of experience and some time for me to figure out what I wanted to do. And then once I figured it out, and then I started college.
That is very good. I like that you took that approach because I'm going to focus on that a little bit. One of the first interviews we did the question was college or no college. And the reason I actually wanted us to discuss that was because a lot of students are asking that question right after high school. Do I go to college? And I don't think I had an option. It was like high school, go to college, right? But I think now it's a very, very good point that you mentioned. My only fear is when students have that option, college or high school, and they don't go, they find some work to do and it's paying them some money. That money might not be good enough, but since they feel like they're getting money, then they forget completely about college. But I also know and I'm sure you know as well, that college is really the next step to really developing what you want to do.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about when you left high school, what were you doing, and how did that help you decide to actually go to college? Yeah.
Well, let me start with the high school part because I know that in high school they give you like two different tracks. One is if you want to go to the workplace right after high school, or if you went to college, you get a college track. I actually was in the college track in high school. So I did everything, all the subjects that they require and everything. But just after graduating, I decided, I might want to get some experience first. I don't know what I want to do in college either. Right. So I started working actually for someone who was introduced to us. He worked at a garage, independent garage, as a mechanic. Yeah. Now, I'll be serious. I didn't know anything about cars back then, but you learn as you go too. Right. So I worked for quite a couple of years, 10 years, 15 years. Right. The pay was okay, but eventually I decided I want to do something more. Right. There was that motivation for me that I wanted to maybe get a better job, a higher pay. Those were all motivations for me. Right. And I knew that if I wanted the job that I wanted, I needed an actual college degree to do that. Yeah. So.
All right, that's actually what I will be closing on, because very good. I didn't even know we're gonna go there, but that was very good. Now let's talk about, since you've gone to work and then you go to college, what were some of the challenges you faced?
Well, first, I've been at work for a long time. Right. So the culture of school and doing homework and all that it's been a long time. Right. So I had to get motivated again to do the schoolwork and all that. But for me, it was actually a little bit easier because I actually enjoy doing that in high school. Right. It's just a rarity for some students. Yes. So getting used to that again, it was a challenge for me.
Okay, right. So I definitely, we'll go back and talk about the college, no college, taking time off, trying to find what it is that you want to do, and then before you go to college. So in college, how did your friends, professors, or vice versa, did you see yourself as fitting in terms of culturally, like your background? Mm-hmm. Did you think people looked at you differently because they didn't think you were an American? Even though, like I said, if you didn't tell me you were actually born here, I'll be like, oh, he's from Taiwan. So he's very international. But that's good to know. In college, did you think people either perceived you differently because of your background? Was that part of a challenge that you went through in college?
There is always some of that, that people perceive you a little bit different. Right. Now, for me, especially, I'm older than a lot of the students, having been in industry for over a decade already. Right. But as far as fitting in, I never really took issue with that. For me, working together with people with different ages, especially in community college, where you have a more diverse type of people. So for me, I didn't really have an issue with that. As far as perception in racial perception, gender perception, I didn't really take that as a challenge or issue.
No, that's good. So let's talk about when you worked in industry, you had some idea, you're like, okay, I definitely want to go to college. How do you decide on, and you could have gone straight to a 4-year school, right? Actually, let's start from, what are you studying right now? What are you studying?
I am studying aerospace engineering.
Okay. So I intentionally asked that question because I want to backtrack now.
Okay.
So when you were in the industry, what made you think, okay, now that I've gotten some experience, aerospace engineering is what I want to do?
It was something that was interesting in when I was younger. I mean, I'll be honest, my parents did push me a little bit on what subject I wanted to do. But if you talk with some of the Asian parents, you will see that a lot of parents, they want you to do either go into a medical field. That's the biggest thing. So,
we just talked about that.
Right.
In my area, is you got to be an engineer, you got to be a lawyer, or you got to be a doctor. So yes.
Yeah, but my parent was stricter, especially my father. He was stricter. He was like, because he was a doctor.
Okay.
And he was like, medical field, definitely medical field, nothing else, medical field.
Right.
But engineering, especially aerospace part, it was something that was interesting when I was little.
Right.
So I could go to medical, but I was like, if I wanted to do something, might as well do something that I'm interested in, rather than something that is being pushed onto me.
Okay. Then the next question is, now you decided aerospace, how did you think of, let me start with a community college before I transfer?
Yeah, well, the main thing for that was financial. Financial. Okay. It was much cheaper for me to go through a community college, do my first 2 years, get my associate, and then transfer to state. Okay. Now, some students want to go straight to a 4-year. That is fine, because for them, I think a lot of thinking is, if you are in the first year of 4-year college, and then you progress through the years, it'll be much easier because you already know the culture of that school and all that. It's much easier to progress, which is fine. You know, that is one option, but that's not the only option. Right? So you can always go to community college, get your 2 years degree. For my case, when I was here, they were saying, you know, do engineering and associates. So I did both. And then go to a 4-year. Now, the transition part, the college did help me. Community college did help me on the transition to a 4-year. As far as the subjects taken, there is a little bit of catch up when you go from a community college to a 4-year. But that is to be expected.
Okay. Now, so how far are you into your program right now in aerospace? Yeah.
I am actually doing my second semester master's degree.
Okay. Yes. Wow. That's very impressive, because I remember, I think when I just started here, Mr. Michael introduced you to me, and it's like, I mean, you know, he loves you. We've got your pictures all over the place. You're like a celebrity now. So, you know, that's great. But, you know, I'm gonna just stand here very quickly to say this. I didn't say it. David said it. Start from a community college. He didn't mention finance. Great. The other component for that, for me, is the smaller sizes. Okay? When you start this whole process, whatever career is, you started from a community college. The finances is definitely there, but also the smaller sizes. So when you transition, right, it makes it easier. So I'm talking as if I'm close, but I just kind of want to make that point before I forget, and then come back to you. What are the opportunities for aerospace now that have you started looking at opportunities for aerospace as you're getting closer to the program, finishing the program?
Yes, there is always, again, the option of going into industry, or if you want to do research. Which area I'm leaning to right now is maybe going into industry, but there's always research industry too. So it's never just one straight line to something. There's always, it branches to different options. What I wanted to do is, whatever opportunity comes to me, first of all.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm interested in both area because there's an area in space, and there is actually the area in aerodynamics, which is within the Earth's atmosphere.
Right.
Which area right now I'm more focused within the aerodynamics area. So what I'm doing right now is the computational side of aerodynamics, which means that in engineering, it's never just one side. Everything just comes together. You get the computational area, so for computer science, a little bit of that. Then you get the electrical engineering, electrical science. It all comes together a little bit. It's never just one thing.
Yes.
Which for engineering is mainly a collaborative subject. So.
No, that's good. That's good. So, we started off this interview, and I was trying to find exactly what angle we're gonna go in. And you've shared, you've really inspired me, and you've shared more than I thought we were gonna go in. So that's great. That's very great. Before I wrap up, though, again, congratulations on all that you're doing. I really admire the path that you took, specifically, after spending all this much time in the industry, but then saying, what, I need to go to college, or I have to go to college. Yeah. Are your parents happy with the aerospace? Even though you didn't go into medicine?
I mean, yes, they're happy. As for them, as long as I know what I want to do and I can be successful at it, then they'll be happy with it. Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important. I ask that question because many a times, and Sarah and I were even just talking about that, our parents have this vision of either what they are, and so we have to become that, or when we pick a track, they don't see how it's going to benefit, or they don't know even if it's going to pay us, or even if we can make a living out of that. Right? So I'm very happy that we've had this open discussion here. So, well, that is really it. Thanks for the opportunity, to do this interview. But in closing, again, want to thank David for coming in here. We've actually answered the question that we didn't even think we were going to be asking here one more time: college or no college? I like his track, or his stages in which he got to where he is right now. Taking some time off right after high school to kind of see what he wants to do. And what did he do next was to say, what, I do want to go to college. I'm going to start at a community college. Finance was his thing, but I say add to the finance, add the smaller spaces, the smaller environments. Okay, that's also very big. And also, most importantly, his parents' support for what he wants to do, I think is also very good. So thanks again for tuning into Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. Please do subscribe. And if you have any questions on anyone that I've interviewed, please let me know. Stay tuned. David, that was great.
Thank you. Thank you.